You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and this is my conversation with Jeff Martin. Jeff Martin is the man at the centre of a band from Canada called The Tea Party. The reason for the conversation, though, is to promote his brand new venture, which is a tour which honours R.E.M. called The Ones We Love, celebrating R.E.M. 1982 to 1992. We hear through the conversation that it features a cast of outstanding Australian musicians. The other reason to chat to Jeff is that he has an upcoming Australian tour which occurs across June, July and August. I start off by asking Jeff about the reason that he ended up living in Australia. Here we go. From where my sister-in-law's from originally, so are you was it music that brought you down here, mate, or was it love and family?
Well, first of all, it was like I had a son that was born here in 2004 in Australia, but I also, the Tea Party, when it started in '93, when our first record came out, outside of Canada, Australia was the first country that we had, major success immediately. So it's been an ongoing love affair since then. And and it was just something that, I'm very very comfortable here in this climate, and also I find that, especially this area of Australia, in Byron Bay, there's such a community of very eclectic musicians, great musicians, and so it's a wonderful thing to be a part of.
Yeah, wicked. Yeah, I remember. Sorry, I definitely know we're here to talk about R.E.M. and also your solo tour, but I've got to mention this. So I remember seeing you 23 years ago on Alternative Nation in a very wet and muddy Sydney. Yeah, do you remember that gig?
I do remember that gig very well, yeah.
I reckon that was probably the best lineup of artists we've seen in this country, to be honest with you. I know there's been some pretty good Soundwave lineups, but that one there, it was easier to list who wasn't there than who was in terms of big names at that time. And I think yourselves and Faith No More and Primus put on an excellent performance.
Yeah, I remember. I remember when we hit the stage and that full moon was happening and all that, and it was just, it was just because I think Lou Reed had played at another stage,
and he got yelled at a fair bit by the crowd. I remember.
Yeah, something like that. And then there was just this mass exodus, and then they all just showed up in front of us, and we just took it and ran with it, and it was one of the most memorable Tea Party concerts, and that's saying something because we've had a few. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, you're spot on about the volume of people. It was an enormous crowd on that smaller stage that you were playing on. It was very hard to get a glimpse of you, but it was probably the first time. I was very young at the time. I was only, when I say very young, I was 17 or so, but Led Zeppelin weren't exactly in the public eye at that time because it's, the internet really hadn't got a hold, but it was the first time that I'd heard music that reminded me of that, and consequently through your music I was able to get into Led Zeppelin, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Yeah, well, it's there's certainly there's a direct lineage between the two bands. Like Jimmy Page, not only was he my hero, but he's a dear friend as well. And it's like I consider him like family. So we do have the running joke that he's the sorcerer and I'm the apprentice. So,
yeah, no, that's right. Well, there's another guitarist that you're paying tribute to, and I've got to be honest with you, mate. It was probably not the guitarist or the band that I would have associated you with, but Peter Buck and R.E.M. You've got this show coming up, so tell us all about that.
Well, basically, the guy that's he's putting on, the musical director. He's had me in the back of his mind for quite some time, and there was scheduling issues and things like that. And obviously, he needed to reach out and find out if it would be something that I'd be interested in, because the only other tribute situation that I've done was many years ago, like 5 or 6 years ago. I did a Led Zeppelin tribute, which more or less made sense. You know what I mean? But a lot of people, it would be a misconceived notion that, that's maybe my musical taste, like in popular music, isn't as broad as what people might expect. Sorry, the antithesis of that. But when I was growing up, especially in around 15, 16 years old, Jeff Burrows, the drummer in the Tea Party, turned me on to really early R.E.M. stuff. Because of Peter Buck's guitar playing and that that jangly 12-string Rickenbacker sound, which for me it was a new sound for me to hear, even though Peter Buck got it from, like, he was very influenced by Roger McGuinn of the Byrds, and that was something that so from listening to R.E.M.'s music and Peter Buck's guitar playing, that's how I discovered the Byrds, and then I discovered the Byrds doing the country rock thing, and took it from there, and B-benders and things like that. So, but I've always appreciated the song catalog of R.E.M. and some of the songs are, well, they're timeless, and it was very fortunate that with me being able to select the songs that I wanted to perform in this situation. There's songs that are very, very close to my heart, and I'm also being given artistic license to well, you got to do it justice, but also to interpret it in a different way as well. So.
Yes, I understand. Well, you've got some bloody good collaborators that are helping you there. I mean, the name that really stood out to me was Steve Kilbey. Now, he's a bassist and a singer, but I think he's one of the finest musicians this country's ever produced, actually. So have you worked a lot with Steve in the past?
I have. You know what? I've yet to meet the man. So, again, it's going to be, it'll be a first. And again, as like when I was a teenager, like that song, The Church, Under the Milky Way, that was a big song as well. So, it was kind of like, for me, knowing the caliber of musicians that are going to be a part of this, that was another selling point for me as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at this list of artists and musicians that you're collaborating with. It almost reads like a who's who of the '90s. So you've got Trish Young, Peter Fenton of Crow. God, I remember them. They were brilliant. And of course, being from Brisbane, Amanda Brown from the Go-Betweens is a very important artist for us.
Right.
So have you worked with any of these people in the past? And whose idea actually was it to get all of you together?
Well, actually, as I said, it was the music director of the show, but no, I've not worked with any of these musicians as of yet. So and it's always an exciting thing. Approaching fast. The first rehearsals and all of us being together in a room and seeing, what chemistry can be formed. And I'm sure it's going to be something very positive.
Okay, rightio. Now, are you cool if I ask you a question about your solo tour?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, so you've got your solo tour coming up, and there's an impressive list of dates here. I mean, you're playing at Yamundi near the sunny coast there, and also Bellingen, which is probably it's in northern New South Wales, of course. Okay, so what sort of music, and have you got a new, forgive me here for not having done the research on this, but have you got a new solo album in the works that you're looking to promote, or is this a bit of a greatest hits of Jeff Martin and the Tea Party that you're going to be putting on?
No, what I have actually, in fact, is I've got a 5-song EP that's has just gone to manufacturing. It's something that I'm very proud of because a couple of years ago I spent some time in Morocco, and I worked with a lot of Moroccan musicians from different parts of Morocco and did a lot of field recordings with them, and using their very distinct styles and sounds to interpret songs of my past and what was going to be a future as well. So it's a collection of songs on this record that's it's very, very exotic. There's a lot going on, but there's also the title track is "Stars in the Sand," and it's a beautiful sort of Hendrix soundscape sort of thing. So it's there's a lot of guitar playing on it, and it's just things that maybe for the time being it's more world music than where the Tea Party is going right now with our new material. Our new material is very it's very hard rock, and that'll see the light of day next year. But this stuff, this is something that I'm promoting, and also my live show. I finally just pulled out of the woodwork all of these pedals and things like that all these companies have been sending me over the years, and I've just been putting together this thing in my rehearsal studio where it's almost going to be like if it all goes according to plan, and if it ends up sounding like it's going to sound, it sounds in my head, it'll be like a sort of like a one-man Pink Floyd sort of thing.
Cool. Yeah. Wicked. Yeah. What's your most prized guitar? Because I imagine you'd have a heck of a collection.
Well, I'm staring at it right now. My most prized guitar is it's a 1916 Gibson harp guitar. So it's yeah, it's 102 years old. It was handmade by the founder of Gibson Guitars himself, Orville Gibson, and it's what it sounds like. It's half an acoustic guitar and half a harp, and it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. It's kind of like you know how Dorian Gray has the picture in the attic. Well, I've got a harp guitar sitting, you know, in the corner. So
I imagine if you got kids, that's one that there's a definite no-touch rule around.
you know, my little boy, he's pretty good. Like when we first moved in here at River House, my wife had bought me for an engagement ring. It was this. It wasn't an engagement ring at all. It was an Egyptian harp. It's called a qanun. You know, it's a beautiful instrument. It's on the stand and everything. And the first week that we moved in here at River House, he knocked it over. Right? So,
yeah.
but that was his lesson. That was his lesson learned. And now he's no longer a bull in a china shop because you know my house is like a museum of world instruments
I bet,
and guitars and things like that. So he knows how to navigate now.
I don't know how many times I picked up my mate in acoustic to pick it up and shake it, and there was biscuits shoved into the sound hole because I left it out. I've probably got enough biscuits, or I probably had enough biscuits in there to make a full packet of ginger nut biscuits. But
there you go.
Yeah, it was just one of those things, and I think I've still got stains on it from where they've put paint and all sorts of things because they're attracted to everything they're not allowed to touch, of course, as you probably well know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm pretty lucky with this house that's sort of in the left wing of the house. Like it's kind of where the recording studio is, and you know most of the instruments and everything else. But there's a lot on display in the house. But he's got it down now, so because he knows someday he's going to inherit them. So
cool. Look after it. You mentioned Gibson. Now, because of the caliber of a player you are, I need to ask this: what's your take on the recent episode the episode that they're still going through? There's not really an end in sight there. I know they filed for bankruptcy, but the decision to put those bloody awful tuners, my opinion, of course, on the back of the headstock, and basically force buyers to purchase that version of the guitar over and above what was the original and still a genuine article. I mean, do you have a view on what they're doing there? Do you think it was something that just happened in a boardroom and it was left out of the hand of musicians? And what do you... you might be the wrong person to be asking this, but as I say, because you're a revered guitarist, I'm just curious for your feedback here. What's your take on the future for Gibson?
Well, they have to go back to... well, when you say basics, you know, I mean, the basics, like just go back to the classic models. That's what everyone wants. You know, it's what everyone needs, you know. I understand what they tried to do with those tuners because, well, I have a Les Paul that has a system in it called a Trans Performance. So basically, the Trans Performance it's the Nassau version of those tuners that Gibson tried to put on the Les Pauls, right? And now that guitar is something else, you know, the one that I have. But the one that Gibson tried to mass market, well, it's not meant for everybody. You know, like everyone doesn't want to play in those different tunings, you know, or you know, be handcuffed, you know, to a guitar.
That was the problem, there, wasn't it? That they forced people to do it. There wasn't the option, or you could remove it, but you would lose your warranty, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, It just seems stupid, but anyway, yeah.
I think that's. I think they'll see better days soon. So.
Do you play the bass guitar at all?
I do. Yes.
Yeah. What's your preferred choice of axe or instrument in that case?
Well, I've got two. I've got a reissue Fender Precision that sort of looks like a Telecaster bass, right? So it's a 61 Precision reissue. That's it's my main go-to bass, and then I also have my father's bass, because my father was a bass player. He doesn't play anymore, so but he had a Gibson Triumph, which is like the one of my main recording guitars is a Gibson Les Paul recording model, and so there was a bass version of it that was put out in the early 70s, and I use that as well, you know, if you want to get those really sort of mellow, almost like Paul McCartney sort of bass sounds.
Sure. Yeah. I'm curious. So I'm a bass guitarist first and foremost. I also play guitar, but I always started on the bass. And look, guitarists that are as accomplished as yourself often play bass as well. So do you play the bass on your own recordings, or do you bring?
I have. Well, certainly, I wouldn't do it on the Tea Party's recordings because I've got Stuart Chatwood. But for my own recordings, yes, I do, and also for when I'm producing clients here at River House, I have a great selection of drummers around this area that will come and do sessions for me, like Dave Atkins from Wolfmother, Tara Pye Richmond will come play drums, but usually I just handle the bass and it always works out, because it's something I enjoy as well.
I must see Andrew Stockdale. It's just got to be one of those things around Brisbane City about once every 6 months or so. I don't know him. I've never spoken to him, but I've been in covers bands in the city, and he's come in with his girlfriend and danced whilst I've been playing, which is quite a thrill for us nobody musicians, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
But have you thought about a collaboration with Andrew? Because I know if you're the lead, if you're associated with Led Zeppelin through your playing, I suppose he would be associated with Black Sabbath through his playing, but in a way that people can relate to. It's not a heavy metal thing. So have you thought about a collaboration with each other?
Well, it's funny you mention that because we just saw Andrew in Byron, because he lives in Byron now, and I played with him not too long ago at the Mojo Burning Festival in Brisbane, right? So it was Wolfmother and myself. I was doing a solo gig, and but yeah, so Andrew is supposed to be coming over for dinner sometime soon, and just to come and see the studio and talk about some things. So yeah.
Cool. All right, mate. It's been a fascinating chat. Thank you so much. I'll certainly be in the audience there on your Black Bear Lodge show, the solo
fantastic.
show in Brisbane, mate. So congratulations on a wonderful career too. It's great to finally chat to you. You're one of those musicians that I've looked up to musically speaking for a very long time. So
thank you.
So yeah, I hope long may you continue to make music.
No, right. Thanks, my friend.
No worries, mate. Cheers.
Bye, brother.
Bye. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was my conversation with Jeff Martin. Thank you so much for listening.